From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome to this episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today we're visiting the beautiful pastures of JT Longhorns in Fremont, Michigan, home to a growing herd of registered Texas Longhorns. Owned by Travis and Janice Pell, this ranch is dedicated to preserving the rich legacy of these remarkable animals. I'm your host, Molly Clubb, and I'm excited to take you on another journey into the world of Longhorns and the breeders who care for them. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Why don't you go ahead and start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself and your program?
Yeah, so we are Janice and Travis Pell. We're from Fremont, Michigan. We have been in Longhorns not very long. We're pushing 3 years, coming into our 4th, I think.
Feels like 10, but I think
It
it's
does,
3.
yeah. So we both grew up with animals. Travis grew up on a dairy farm, actually, and I grew up with horses, kind of like hobby animals. When we got married, we did Angus crosses for a while. So very familiar to just having animals on our farm. And so a couple years ago, we took the leap and got into Longhorns and haven't looked back.
So what made you land on Longhorns? If your past experience is dairy and horses, that's quite a pivot. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we actually, it's kind of crazy. We went to Texas for one of Travis's work trips, and we walked out of a
Tim McGraw concert.
Yeah. That's what it was. We walked out of a Tim McGraw concert, and they had 2 Longhorns like in a pen right outside of this concert. And Travis just said, wouldn't that be wild? And we didn't have animals at the time. We had sold our herd. We took a little break. And we did realize with that break from animals that we are animal people and we're ready to get cows again. We just didn't really know what path we were going to take. So anyways, we saw these Longhorns and Travis started dreaming, obviously. And he's like, wouldn't that just be crazy if we owned Longhorns? Well, that was in February of 2022, I think. And then we bought our first ones, came across an ad, and that was H&B Longhorns, Josh and Megan, and came across an ad, and Travis was immediately hooked. Like, sent me a text message, hey, I called this guy, like, we're going to meet them on Saturday to buy these heifers. And it was just, that was the end of it. I mean, we met the people. Obviously, the animals are great, but the people are just as good, and now we're hooked.
She left out that she didn't believe me. She thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I did.
We were going to go buy these 2 Longhorn heifers that I'd come across, and
I said yes, like, okay, yeah, all right. Like, whatever, we'll go look at them.
We had Angus for a long time, and I've always been around cattle my whole life. And, when you have cattle, you swear you'll never want them again when they're gone. And we went one winter in Michigan without any livestock. And I think it just ate at my soul, not having, that was like after work, my release, and I think it was both of us. And the girls too. We've always enjoyed having cattle around us. And yeah, these two Longhorn heifers showed up, and one was solid black and one was solid white with a black nose and black ears. And I was like, these are it. We're going to go pick up these heifers. And Janice is like, oh, yeah, another Travis scheme, I'm sure, and, a couple days later, we were driving the door.
Yep.
And that was, I think, Josh Shaw kind of set us up on that, too, because when we went to go look at these heifers for the first time and meet Josh and Harv and Megan, he was conveniently enough having their spring GLTLA meeting the day we went to look at these heifers. So not only did we get to look at two beautiful heifers and an entire herd of Longhorns, we got introduced to the whole group. There was all the Michigan legends were there and just tons of people. And, we come pulling in to look at these two heifers and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And, we got to sit through the meeting with them and, met Johnny and Missy Hicks through that. And just kind of a cool deal. But I'm pretty sure he set that up that way.
Yeah.
I think
that was planned.
Hook, line, and sinkered me on that.
So did you leave that day with just the two, or were there more that went home with you?
I don't think we left. I think they sent them up later, but it was just the two. It was later that spring, or it was a couple weeks later, Johnny found us a bull.
So we got those two home. Josh and Harv brought them up for us and delivered them. And, they were spring and heifers. And honestly, these were going to start out as pasture pets for us, and they were going to be fun. And we had a Hereford bull over at our father-in-law's. And honestly, people are going to cringe when they hear this.
We didn't
but
know.
They were just going to be, fun. And at first, my plan was just to throw that Hereford bull on them. And, this was going to make my dream of ever having a Longhorn complete here. And then it was like, man, I don't know. I'd hate to put a Hereford bull on these two Longhorn heifers. So I remember it was a Saturday night, and Janice and I were sitting on the deck, and I think we were having a few beers, and I said, let's get a Longhorn bull for these two heifers. I think her eyes got really big, and I called Josh, and I'm not even kidding you, and this is another one of those planned events where I think God set me up, but Josh was riding in the pickup with Johnny Hicks.
Yep.
I don't know if I was on speakerphone when I asked him for a Longhorn bull to put on these two heifers, but if you need an animal found, Johnny Hicks will find it. And it was within 7 days later, Johnny comes rolling in here in, Johnny Hicks fashion, this dually Dodge long bed with this 40-foot livestock trailer, and, our first Longhorn bull walked off the trailer. So, to say that was all planned, I think someone planned it, but it's someone way bigger than us.
Yeah.
Well, you are fortunate for the folks that you got started with, it sounds like, because those are good people to kind of, answer your questions and help you get started. Where did it go from there? So you had the two heifers and the bull, then what happened?
So we really didn't do much the first year. We did pick up another heifer from Scottville.
Yeah, so we I think what happened first was,
it's like drinking from a water hose. When you get into the industry, there are so many people to help you, and there's just really all these different options, and we kind of just sat back and were like, okay, what are we doing?
Everybody's got cattle to sell.
Yeah.
And we went to a couple more meetings with those guys, and we're kind of taking it all in. And then that following spring rolled around, and I went to the bluegrass sale.
Yep.
The first one by myself. I grabbed two buddies, and I said, hey, we're going to go to this Longhorn show sale and see what it's all about. And, at this time in our area, we live in a very, very heavy dairy area. To see Longhorns in this area, people are like, what are these guys doing? So the one buddy I took finishes beef, and the other one I take raises dairy heifers, and we loaded up and went to bluegrass. And it was our first for charity ever, and Janice unfortunately stayed home with the kids. And
it was actually probably good, because in the beginning I was watching the sale from my living room, and I would have bought every animal at that sale because
She's got a problem.
I was texting him.
She
I'm
won't
like,
say
bid
it.
on
She's
her.
got a problem.
Bid on her. And we did not
You're
come
the
home with
type,
anything, which was
you're
probably
the type
good.
of people we like on Hired Hand Live.
Yeah.
We are. Well, yeah, her especially when she's got a sale bill in her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I hit. There was a couple cows there I really liked, and honestly, we were still really green. We didn't know what we were looking for or what we wanted, but I just walked through and I saw cows I liked. What I liked about them, and we had a budget in mind, and we didn't hit on any of them. They all went past our budget. So one of the breeders there was Jim Larabis, and he's actually from Michigan. He said, "Hey, I got some animals, kind of related and kind of like the ones you were hitting on. You want to come look?" And so, the next thing was we went there and we bought JL Mona.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that kind of started it, really going to bluegrass by myself. And I came home and, there was the full addiction. I was pumped and excited and met a lot of great people and, just like everybody, I think your first futurity is where you really get the addiction when you get there is all these beautiful cattle and the colors and the horns and the, different conformations. And then the people on top of it, I was hooked. And
Yeah.
I think that's really where it started. So then we've slowly been growing. And then we kind of have just been going to futurities without cattle. And then I made the mistake of bringing her to bluegrass again. And she had a sale bell in her hand and was hitting me upside the head with it till we brought a heifer home. So,
Yep.
We bought our first one that way. And we've slowly just been picking up cattle, here and there that we like and what we want. And I guess really that's most of it. Just
How many head are you up to now?
with Janice is really great at selling beef. So the majority, I think we've got 17 out there. And
But a lot of that, we have a couple steers and
pretty much the steers are funding this project with Janice selling
for
beef.
now, yeah.
So, we both have full-time jobs and we have three girls, 6, 4, and 2, Elsie, Averie, and Macie Lou. So the farm, as much as I'd love it to be my full-time job, it's not. I'm a diesel mechanic by day and we farm all night and on the weekends. But, so I think we got 17 total with the last one she just butchered. But Janice she's a beef seller. So a lot of what we have are for the beef program. And then we've got 4 heifers right now and then 4 brood cows in a nice bowl.
Yep.
So.
Well, Janice, tell me a little bit about the beef sales, because I think, folks are always looking to add that to their program, it seems, but also with where you're located in Michigan, like you said, being in the middle of dairy country, I imagine maybe you had a little bit of an uphill battle to fight until folks tasted it and, realized how healthy it is.
Yeah, actually, so the first steer that we did, I think we only sold a quarter of it. We had kept everything for ourselves. We go through it like crazy, so it's not a big deal for us to keep that much. But I did sell a quarter, and it was just kind of like I didn't honestly even think about beef with these Longhorns. I didn't really realize it was an avenue at that time. So I had just sold a quarter, and the customer came back and was like, that was good. Like, are you going to do this again or what's your plan here? And I truly at that time was like, well, I guess I don't really know, but.
And it's hard to, you like your own beef. We were eating it too,
so
and we knew it was good, but we're a little biased.
Yeah. So we, and he was very, into the health conscious side of it as well. Once I kind of explained that, like, Longhorn beef is kind of a naturally leaner meat and all the nutrients and just kind of the difference. And there's this great little chart that shuffles around Facebook every now and then, but it just, compares it to like chicken and, regular beef and all the other proteins. So kind of after that conversation, honestly, with that customer, I was like, wait a minute. So it's not just, pretty animals that we can show and sell. Like, what about this beef side? So we actually oddly enough, had all heifers, which is crazy. Everybody was like, you are so blessed to have all heifers the first year. And my beef brain was like, wait a minute, but I kind of wanted at least one bull. But now that we're farther in the industry, I understand why it's so great to have all heifers the first time. But we had all heifers. And then we picked up a couple steers or bull calves around, and
we've been very fortunate and
yeah.
putting it's miles, Molly, but we picked up a few from Sherry Boyle, and Josh Shaw was nice enough to sell us some to fill that beef slot. But what you said, you hit the nail on the head, especially after COVID. These dairy guys saw where the beef trend was going, and a lot of these guys were putting their first calf heifers on Angus cattle, or a Hereford bull, or anything to get a beef cross, just to hit this beef market where it is. But I think what we've found with the Longhorn is it's a leaner meat and it's healthier, and people really like that. And I mean, the other thing we offer, all of our customers follow our Facebook. We've had them stop and want to see the cows, and they're in the yard, and Janice is pretty much, I think, the founder of the homesteading trend. So you come over here on the right day, and we're in the garden, and there's chickens running wild, and the cows are out on the pasture, and it's it looks healthy, right? And there's not a lot of times you can see your beef on all four hooves walking around versus just picking it up at the butcher, and it's very these dairies by us, they have so many customers. It's just you're a slot, and we're at the point where it's very personal. We keep in touch with our customers, whether they like it or not. They get picture updates of how their beef is growing. So
now, sometimes that can be a double-edged sword with Longhorns, I feel like, because they are each so unique and colorful and, different to look at than the Angus cross or the other beef cattle. So it's interesting that you share that, because I think some folks are a little hesitant too.
It's certainly hard, even for us, when you get some of these really pretty ones, with a brindle coat or something and a nice horn set, but at the same time, we sell the skulls, and we've been working on something to do with the hides, because it's they are really pretty, and in our area it's tough. It really is. It's very competitive on the beef market. So, but that's good too, because it makes you do a better job yourself. So that's okay.
Well, getting back to your herd overall, or maybe more specifically the pedigree Longhorns that you have, what's your favorite part now that you have them?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Where do you start, right? I don't, I think all of it. I love going to the futurities. It's tough right now with the age of our kids and where we're at in life, but I don't have I guess, a competitive side of me, but I love taking our cattle and just showing them off, whether they do good or not. I love the conversations that are had. I love the people that are there. I love seeing all the other cattle. I could sit through a futurity all day and just watch, those heifers and bulls come through. I just love the diversity that Longhorns bring, and everybody's doing something a little different.
I think too, like us having those Angus crosses before, so you can have Angus, and I mean, certainly people have a passion for that, but I just think the passion is so different for us with Longhorns, because it's our life all the time, every day. We have futurities we're thinking about. We have the beef side. I've obviously the daily chores, the hopeful prospects in the next couple years, and maybe consigning our first animal, or the private treaties. I think that the diversity just makes it more of a passion for us as a family. The girls are obsessed with the animals, absolutely obsessed.
And the futurities.
They have a blast.
Oh, they love it. If you see us, you probably think, we're the couple up there pulling our hair out with three girls running wild. But believe it or not, we are having fun.
But it's definitely a family affair with that, and I think that the diversity of the Longhorns themselves is what makes that really a family affair, because there's just so many different avenues to take with the animals.
What are some lessons you feel like you've learned specifically from watching futurities and now participating in them that you wouldn't have learned had you not seen that?
Oh man, that's a good question. Truthfully, I'll tell you, it's just being proud in what you're doing. It's the truth on futurities. It's really fun to win a buckle. We won a buckle with one of our heifers at the Michigan futurity, and that's an awesome feeling. I mean, that honestly, we didn't believe it. I think at that time our kids were melting down and pulling our hair, and our name came across, and Adam Clark, I think he said it twice, and I still didn't believe it, but that's really great. But at the same time, to be there with, all of these people and to have your cattle there and to show them off, the truth is you just got to enjoy these cattle and what you're doing yourself personally, because, there's a lot of heartbreak. You bring these big classes and everybody's kind of calving at the same time. And, you think you got a winner, everybody does, because we're proud of what we're bringing. And even afterwards, you still got to be proud. And, to go there and to compete and to have fun and to meet people, it's not all about the competition. Some of it's just about, showing off your herd and your animals and what you're doing and yourself. I love showing off my girls and how much fun we have or don't have together.
Sometimes it's don't have.
And there is things, I think just in the short time we've come, just talking to people, how much the fraternities have changed, and I think this used to be, from what we've seen, this was more of a bring them right out of the pasture, and run them through the ring. And now they're clipping them, and you see some even with their hooves dialed up, and they're washed and bathed. And, I think just like when I showed, beef cattle, that has changed through the years. In the old days, a big filled out Simmental or Hereford would win the class, where now, if you're showing 4-H animals, it's these new fluffy poodle cows. I don't even know what the breed are, but it seems like more on the haircut than the beef animal itself, and that's just the trend of it. So we're lucky enough, new enough that to put them in the chute and trim them just like I would my steer ain't no big deal, and they do look good. I love how they looked all cleaned up like that in the spring. So I think we've learned just to have fun and to meet people and to socialize and not let the competition side of it,
deter us at all.
Beat you up too bad. So
we'll brag on this heifer a little
bit.
Oh, of course. Well, let's brag on this heifer a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about her pedigree and what made her special enough to win a buckle.
Oh man, we're still trying to figure that out for ourselves, I think. Yeah, so
her name's Rosie. JT Mona's Rose is her registered name, but so she's out of HL Troubadour, and then JL Mona is that cow that we had bought from Jim Larabis up here in Scottville. And honestly, she has really great coloring. She has great conformation. I mean, I could brag all day about my cows. I think that they're all beautiful and they're all perfect. And obviously, I could also pick my animals apart all day long too. But she's just kind of a package deal. She walks in the ring and she just really carries herself well. And she's got some 20 gauge in her, so through her mom's side. So she just kind of has that look to her as well.
She carries herself well too.
Yeah, and her
she's
personality, you can kind of see
proud
it.
heifer. She's flat backed, and especially here in Michigan, and it's tough. Everybody likes something different, but we have a lot of mud, and we have weird winters, and I like a heavier set cow, and I like them big framed, and she kind of fits that bill for us, and her mom did too. But yeah. Troubadour, HL Troubadour was a bull that Jim had, and he was out of DO Miss Grand, and trued up BCR 646 or something.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if we just got lucky with her, but then once you win a buckle, it's like, okay, game on.
And honestly, I think I think that maturity too, like we understood the pedigree and like looking back on pedigrees, but I don't think we truly understood what it meant to like breed these animals correctly and really breed for what you want and the options until we won that buckle. Then we were like, okay, wait a minute. Let's get serious about this. And that's when we started looking, I think deeper into bloodlines.
Yeah.
And
That's
when the pedigree side really sparked for us.
Mm-hmm. And she, her mom is Parker Brown, and Rosie is, that Parker Brown. I just love that because it kind of changes with the season. And
yeah, she has that.
At one time, she's kind of red and speckled, and then, as the seasons change, she'll be a little darker Parker Brown speckled, and she's just got really nice flat horns, and they're perfectly symmetrical and straight, and she carries herself well. Sometimes it's just an animal's demeanor, right? And when they walk in the ring, they just grab your attention. And I think that, on the right day, she does that for herself. So,
yeah.
So with studying pedigrees more and kind of striving to understand that, do you have any specific breeding plans for her coming up?
Yeah.
So she is bred to, she's confirmed bred to Hick Silverado. And I mean, we're really excited about that. We have WS Hydro in there, and so Silverado is out of PCC Big News and Hicks Baby Doll. So honestly, obviously, both of those are absolute knockouts. So seeing her crossed with that, I think just pulls together two really good lines. And we had her actually ultrasounded this fall, and we're hoping to have a calf out of her in July. We're really, really excited to see what we get out of that.
It's tough. Just where we're at with life financially, to start chasing the pedigrees and the power behind that, it's financially we were just kind of taking it slow and we were weighing our options, and it's tough for me to know what I like until I have it, or really get to see it up close. And we've been going to fraternities and we've done a few ranch tours, and so we've kind of just been knowing cattle that we know, and very fortunate to have Johnny and Missy and the Shaws as friends and to be to their ranches all the time. And Johnny and Missy were we were fortunate enough to buy this Hicks Silverado from them, and Hicks Baby Doll, his dam, she's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, beautiful color, big frame cow with the milking, and then to see PCC Big News on top of that, another big framey beautiful colored bull. We knew that he was going to be something really special, and I think as he grows, he will be. So to put him on Rosie there, we're pretty excited to see what that can do, and we're really just taking it slow. I mean, it's hard, where we're at. It's hard to go and do this a lot, but we're picking away at it, and I think we're learning as we go, and like everyone, learning from your mistakes for sure. So.
What do you feel like the biggest challenge has been so far, and have you overcome it, or how did you overcome it?
I think that the biggest challenge, and everybody kind of says this to new breeders, that, figure out what you really like and then start buying. Well, Travis kind of just said it, but I agree. Like, I don't think I would know what I really like had I not just kind of started buying, if that makes sense. I mean, we walk around and we see what we like. And so I think that I don't know that we've overcome it yet. I think we're moving in the right direction, but I think that narrowing down what we really like and what we want our animals to be.
Especially as far as pedigrees. Yeah. There's so many options, and everybody is so good at advertising, for us, cattle, agriculture, everything, it's like a 5-year plan. It's hard to know what you've got until you've seen some calves or you've seen them grow and mature. Right. And, Rosie, she looked great, but is she going to be a good mom? Is she going to milk? What's her feet going to look like?
Right.
It's really, you got to be patient. And I think why I make such a good mechanic is because I've milked cows for the better part of my life. You just learn to be patient and not to rush it. And, part of the hardest thing is just waiting. But, and then I think another big part for us was, Johnny took us to Legacy, our very first winter with these animals.
Yeah.
And that was like, holy cow, we're way out of our game on this.
Yeah, like, what are we doing?
This is insane, and we were fortunate enough to sit at a table with Michael Bennett, and he did a great job of bringing me back down and keeping me level. And it's intimidating, it really is for a young couple, who financially are just kind of making their way, and to see some of the numbers that go at these sales and what these cows go for, and you think, how are we ever going to do this ourselves? It can be very intimidating, but then, you just start doing it and you fall in love with it, and you do your own thing. And if you do a good job and you take care of these cattle, they'll produce for you too. So some of it's just getting over that initial shock, right? Of, holy cow, are we out of our element on this?
Yeah. And like I said, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. Like, there's the diversity, the amount of pedigree that there is to read and understand. And it's not just, oh, I like that cow, so buy it and, throw it on the bull we have. And there's just so much that goes into it. Even now, this many years in, I sit back sometimes and it's like, okay, I almost need to write down what we're doing to just take a deep breath and keep on track.
I
if
think
that makes sense.
If Legacy, that night at Legacy, and I think about that all the time, Johnny bringing us to that, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. It was cool. And, there was two things that I still remember from that. One, when that whole show stopped to pray, that was very humbling to me. I'm like, okay, I'm in the right spot. Well, we're in this beautiful hotel and everybody's having fun. And, we paused to pray for the cattle and the people showing, that was very humbling to me. And it's like, you know what, I'm in the right spot. I can sit at this table. And then, Michael Bennett, I don't know if you have a conversation with Michael Bennett, you'll never forget it, because the guy's just great. But he told me, do you love your animals? Do you love doing this? Then you're doing the right thing. And I was like, 100%. He said, just bring what you got and show what you got and be proud of it. And I still think about that. And he reminds me. He's like my Texas pen pal down there. So someday I got to work my way down there and bring home a butler from him so I can be part of his legacy there.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink, we're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
Imagine updating your website and managing your animals at the same time without needing tech experience. With Hired Hand software, it's that easy. Our user-friendly platform is designed specifically for breeders, allowing you to keep your site fresh and your animal records up to date in just a few clicks.
Let us simplify your digital chores while you focus on what you do best. Visit hiredhandsoftware.com and see just how easy it can be.
Looking for top quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Cantera Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at CanteraCattleCompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing canteracattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Well, what are some of your other goals that you have? Let's say we look at the next 5 years. What are some of the goals you hope to reach within that?
I would say 5 years. Our thing here is, we certainly want to grow our numbers, but we don't really want to necessarily be bigger than we are as a family. Travis and I are the ones doing chores, and the girls are, as they get older, obviously get more helpful.
We hope.
We
That's the
hope, right?
plan.
But I think that we certainly want to grow our herd, but we never want to outgrow our family. We don't want it to become something that's not a passion for us anymore. And obviously, we need to be able we both, like he said, work full time. So, not so much quantity of animal, but I think we certainly want to continuously work to step up the quality. I don't think that any of ours are poor quality now, but there's certainly room for improvement in working on that, those pedigrees. And one piece of advice we got one time from Guy and Charlotte,
Cool.
yeah, is parking spots. So ultimately that your farm has, I'm going to use a round number, your farm has 20 parking spots. When you hit 21, who's in that last parking spot? So that's how you essentially level up your herd, by not getting so big that it's something that you can't control anymore, that is too much work for just Travis and I and the girls. So I think 5-year plan ultimately is certainly to grow our herd, but just to work on that quality of the animal, quality of pedigree. And I mean, I'd like to maybe in the next 5 years consign our first animal and have a few private treaty sales, but
And certainly keep hitting more for charities.
yeah.
It's hard to pick which ones to go to, and being from Michigan, there's some that are a lot closer to us, and, but most of them it's quite a hike. So, when we go, we're not only packing the cows and the trailer, but we're packing 3 little girls and car seats, and
yeah, yep.
it's quite an adventure. So, but as they get older, it'll be easier, but we certainly would like to be more present at more for charities, and whether that's with or without cattle, I really love the futurity side of it. I love the conversations that are had. I love seeing all the different animals. And, that's where I learn, in person. When I can see those genetics for myself and, look at their feet and look at their structure, that's what I really enjoy, seeing them in person. And, every year the kids will get a little older, and that'll get a little easier too. But
Yep.
Well, you gave the parking spot analogy. So my question as follow-up to that would be, what is your ideal herd size? Like, where do you feel like that sweet spot is where you can have your family and still have the animals that you want?
Are you asking me or Travis?
yeah, because
That's a different one.
yeah.
We can do 2 different answers. How about that?
I would say, so not all of the animals, but I think breeding mothers, I would like to be around 12. He's looking at me like I'm crazy.
It's tough to say, Molly. We were fortunate enough to get the last 40 acres of the family dairy farm when it sold out, and it was my grandparents' farm, and it's 40 good acres.
Mhm.
And when we had the Angus here that we were crossing that Hereford, we were really renting most of this ground out for cash crop and just working with what we had. At any time we had 6 to 8 Angus cows and then a Hereford bull to cross them on. And now that we are so invested in these cattle, we've slowly taken back the farm itself, and we're doing more of our own hay. We put up all of our own inputs now, and we're fencing like crazy. One, because I just love it, and because we need it. And we're working. I've kind of fallen in this loophole on rotational grazing and all of so it's hard to say. Where we're headed, I think we could easily have 20 brood cows out here, breeding age. But right now, financially, I'd love to have 30 weaned, feeder calves out there for her to sell. But it really just depends, what direction God puts us in. One, financially, and 2, with this, we have 7 calves coming this year out of Silverado, and that's really exciting for us. And
Very.
If we get to where we can afford to sell some of our breeding stock, on private treaty, financially, that'll help too. So it's really up to him and what he thinks we're capable of. But it's hard to say. I'd love to have, 50 out here, but with a daytime job, and, I work a half hour from home. So Janice really handles most of the chores with the girls. By the time I get home, they're pretty well done. So up until haying season and summer when we're fencing, I don't know. That's a tough answer to say.
I'm just happy he didn't sneer too hard at my number.
Yeah, I'm surprised she shot so low, honestly.
Well, with your dairy background, do you have plans to incorporate AI work at all, or do you think you'll always keep a bull, in the pasture for breeding? Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, we honestly, with our herd size right now, there's no, we have 4 breeding brood cows, and then we had these heifers this year, so we've bumped up quite a bit, up to 7, I guess, now that I'm doing math in my head. But yeah, I would love to AI. Oh man, when the Trails magazine sends out the bull catalog, I'm gone for 3 days just digging through that, looking at all the beautiful bulls and all the options that there are. So, we definitely, and the nice thing about dairy country, we have a ton of AI around here to get the tank back and everything. And, in the 5-year plan, AI is certainly definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's nice, to have a bull who knows what he's doing, who was made for that. And even on cleanup, I'll always have a bull just for that. And, the crowds love the bull too. Silverado's such a show off when people come over, it's just a beautiful thing. But yeah, AI is definitely in our future, as our herd grows and we get Silverado part of the program and we can see what else we can do with some of these awesome bulls that are out there,
Right.
Well, who would each of you say is your all-time favorite Longhorn bull? Dead or alive? Breeder doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be in your pasture. Who's your favorite?
I hate this question. You know that, Molly? It's like I tell my kids, I don't have any favorites, okay?
You can only pick one. I
know.
I would definitely have to say, I would say, I don't know. I'm a WS Vindicator fan for sure.
Yeah, Vindicator, he is a good bull. I don't know, if they train that dude to just stance right for every one of his photos, and I wish we could have met him before he passed. The day when I saw, Vindicator passed away on, I think it was the Longhorn Friends.
Yeah.
I think I cried a little bit because I was really looking forward to meet him. But HL Django, that bull I really like him too. I guess if I had to pick right now, since she took Vindicator, HL Django is, I think, a bull I'd really love to see in person, and his stance and the power he's got and to look at the calves he's throwing, that bull gets me pretty excited. That would be a fun one to use.
What about females? If you could only pick one.
Oh, mine is hands down High Heels 220. So we actually, the first year we were at Legacy, her daughter Heels and Pearls sold at Legacy. I think M7 had her there, Wayne and Joanna. I'm quite certain. And I just love that. I mean, I am a sucker for the black ears, black nose, and on a white body, or mostly white body, I should say. So I'm really a big fan of her. And what she puts out, she kind of stays pretty consistent with that coloring a lot of the time. And I think that's really attractive. She's another one that has that nice body, but still is very feminine. I think she's a very good cow, good looking animal for sure.
This question's even tougher for me because
you can't see it, Molly, but he's got smoke rolling out of his ears right now.
I like, everybody loves a big, strong bull, and there's, but I love cows. I love brood cows. All day I can look at dams and cows, and there's just something about a good brood cow that I really love. But to give you an answer, because I know that's what you want, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but it's probably WS Sunstar too. I don't know what Tom Smith has in the water over there. Being from Michigan and not making it to his ranch yet, it's definitely something I need to do. But WS Sunstar, and just going through her progeny and looking at all the calves she's thrown, and what Vindicator has done for the program, and her too, and that picture, I reference it because if you don't see him in person, you don't know. But she's got that stance in her picture, if you look it up, where she's just like, I'm the boss and I know it.
Yeah.
I just love that in a cow, when you see it. But that's tough too. There's a lot of great ones out there. And
Well, for this next question, I won't set a limit other than a few. How about that? But tell me about a few of kind of like your dream herds or your dream ranches that you hope to visit one day that just, you want to visit with the breeders, you want to see the animals. Pick a few of those for me.
That's easy because M7 is like the top of my list. Like, we're planning our vacations as we get older on ranch tours. All of our friends are going to Mexico and the Bahamas and Cabo. And we're like, well, we're going to go to, these ranches. That's what we're going to do. And M7, I love to get out there and just, we almost got to do it when we went to Legacy, but it stormed like crazy that day and we didn't quite make it. But I'd love to get out there and meet Wayne and Joanne and just, get to see that program. Hudson's would be a really fun one I'd love to do.
Yep.
Tom Smith is on that list, but I'm going to go there this summer.
It's almost embarrassing that we have to say
I'm set that I'm going to Tom's, so that one doesn't count. That's going to happen. But Pine Brothers is another good one. I'd love to go and visit. And Guy and Charlotte Cope, I'd love to go out there and just get to spend a weekend with them and see their herd, and the list goes on and on. But if those ones come to mind quite easily.
Yeah. I think 3P's on my list for sure too. Shagodas.
Yeah, Shagodas would be a good one. Yeah, we got to meet them at Wisconsin.
Nope.
No? Which one? Oh, Millennium. Yeah, they were a lot of fun to talk to. So I've been fortunate enough to be at Hubble's during feeding time, so that should be on everyone's bucket list. Everybody, up here in Michigan, there's some really, really awesome programs up here. H&B and Johnny and Missy Hicks and Mark and Garrett Hubble, Triple R Ranch, Tom Smith. We're so fortunate to start out up here, to get to go to some of these and absorb some of the knowledge. And, it was a picture perfect morning. I was at Mark Hubble's one morning and he had just fed those cows. And I'm telling you, you've never seen such a beautiful sight. The sun was coming up, it was frosty, and, all of Mark's program where they're eating right at the bunk. So pretty cool to see that too. And all of our Michigan friends, we've developed some really good friendships where we're at, the Hicks and the Shaws all the time, and to get to see their programs. Michigan probably, I don't think we get forgotten about, but, if you guys want to, come north and have some good craft beer and then plan a couple of cool tours, these guys up here, what they've done, and, some of the cattle in the industry, Michigan, we might be catching up to Texas just a little bit.
I don't know about that.
I'm going to offend some people by saying that, so I probably shouldn't, but I like to joke, and, if you don't stir the pot, it burns at the bottom. So
something I always, whenever I talk to a Michigan breeder, I always remember the story that Jim Larabis told me it was actually on our podcast probably a couple of years ago now, but he was talking about it might have been the Wisconsin Futurity, but how he has the choice of either like driving 3 times as long around the water, the bodies of water that he has to travel by, or he can put his cattle on like a
ferry.
Yes, thank you. I was looking for the right word, or a ferry to get them where, and that will always stick with me of, how many people can say that?
Not many. No. And there's just these breeders in here in Michigan, every single one of them are so welcoming and, willing to help, and friends. And, these have grown more than just purchasing cattle. We've really made, some strong friendships. So it's just great, to have this friend group up here. I would call them more than fellow breeders. So,
well, what made you all decide to get a hired hand website?
That was definitely me. I think the push for that. I do a lot of the social media stuff, and I just think that was the next step for us. And I can't honestly, I'm not like putting a commercial out here or anything, but maybe kind of. I definitely think that has leveled things up for us to be able to, number one, pull up our animals, pull their pedigrees at the drop of a hat straight from our website. It's just kind of been a game changer, I would say, for us. And it's one of those things I said for months that, okay, we're going to get a website. Like that is the next step for us. Like I want a website. We're not doing private treaty sales yet, but it's not crazy to think it's not in the near future. And when I finally pulled the trigger, first of all, you guys made it very easy. I was a little intimidated at the thought of trying to get this all organized and put together, but it was said and done before I even realized we had started. Honestly, it was kind of the next step for us, but I think it has made a big difference for us.
I mean, it only made sense. You
Yeah.
guys, every one of your pages is bookmarked in my phone.
Yeah, right.
I spend 80% of my time on a hired hand website. Poor Netflix. We might as well cancel that subscription. If hired hand just had a social media page, that would be the only one I would need. But it's
Well, you just need to find a way to hook your phone up to your TV and get all those animals on the big screen and look at them that way.
Oh, we have when your guys' live auctions are on. So we've
yeah.
got that. We have our own little private auction right here in the living room. But the kids think it's great, and no, it's gone fast, Molly. It really has. When I think back to Legacy and that feeling I had of, oh boy, what have we gotten into? To thinking we'd have a website and a name. Janice pretty much designed our brand, our name, our little logo. And it's gone quite quickly to think that here with my commute, I listen to, I like podcasts in the morning, and, I've listened to every single one of your guys's from start to finish, and I've probably started them over now and picked through some of my favorites. To think that we're actually here doing it now, it's a little surreal, I guess. Now we have a website and branded cattle with our brand on it. So
yeah,
very blessed. Thankful.
One thing I always tell guests is I have this vision where we'll follow up with you in a year, 2, 3 years, and do the same type of interview, and then you'll really be amazed at how far you've come. I'm sure it'll be the same story, but tenfold. So
yeah,
I'm sure.
No, it goes fast. It really does. It's hard to believe. I can still remember when Johnny pulled in with our first Longhorn bull, and I thought, oh my goodness, what are we doing? What we got into, and now Janice and I are both part of the GLTLA, and, that's just been awesome and a lot of fun to be a part of and to meet all of these great people. So yeah.
Well, I have some rapid fire questions for you all. You feel like you can each have an answer and we can go at the list?
Oh yeah. It's, they might be polar opposites, or
yeah.
All right, we'll give it a try here. What's your favorite farm tool?
Golf cart.
Easy. Yeah. There's a story behind that if you have time to hear it, but
of course, there's always time for stories.
So we wanted a side-by-side really, really bad. And it's like always something I've wanted, but I just can't spend the money on, what those go for. And a guy I work with had a 2-stroke golf cart for sale, $800, and you can come get it. I went and I picked up this golf cart and I brought it home to her, and I put, the golf cart mud tires on it, and this thing's a 2-stroke, so everywhere it goes, we leave a smoke trail. So this thing has become our all-around utility tool. And any time of the year you get that golf cart out, there's probably a couple empty beer cans in the bed. There's some fencing equipment, some fencing insulators. The kids are usually bouncing around in the bed.
Probably a Barbie.
Maybe a Barbie or two, a sippy cup full of spoiled milk, and then who knows what else. Syringes, vaccines, empty bottles. But that golf cart probably has put 10,000 miles on this place. Yeah. Just running around doing everything.
I feel like, do you have pictures of this on social, Janice? I feel like I need to go look now.
Probably should. To be honest, when he brought it home, I was less than
she was
impressed.
Not happy. Let's just get that. She was not happy. This was a golf cart that started out green. This guy had let his grandsons paint it John Deere or Case IH red, and then cover it in John Deere stickers. So he pulled off the back seat and, built a homemade wooden bed for it, so it really is like the perfect utility vehicle. I can't tell you how many times I've had that thing buried out in the muck or the back pasture, but it's nice because it's light enough the family can push it out as one. So it's team building for JT Longhorns is what it is.
Well, what's your favorite thing to eat when you're driving around on the golf cart? Or drink, I guess I should say that too.
Michelob Ultra.
What about eat? Anything that we can grab quick.
So when our kids go to bed, whenever that may be with them, because they're resilient little boogers and independent, Janice and I's favorite thing to do is we call it our golf cart date. And we'll pick a group of cattle in the pasture, and we'll take that little smoky golf cart and 2 Michelob Ultras and the baby monitor, and we'll just go sit out in the pasture with them cows and, have a beer and wind down from the week and just kind of enjoy it. That's probably
well,
not
that answers. That answers one of the next questions, which is your favorite thing to do in the pasture. I feel like that's probably it then.
Fencing's right up there because I got a thing. I love the dairy farm I grew up on. Our cows were always out. I mean, consistently. So I don't ever want that again. So I'm kind of always fencing. If anything looks out of sort, I'm on it.
Well, what if you could only use one word to describe your herd?
Oh, I hear you say this one, and I don't ever think about it. Like, what would my option be? Blessed. I would say blessed.
Yeah, blessed for sure.
We're very blessed. They are too. They just don't know it.
Yeah. Is Michigan your dream ranch location, or is there somewhere else you would hope to be someday?
Oh, man. You think for all your life that, you're happy where you're at, and then you start watching Yellowstone and you think Montana looks great too.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think for right now where we're at, we're really happy.
Yeah.
Never say never, because you don't know what God's got in store for us or what he'll throw at us. But, right now, today, I would say the answer to that question is yes. Michigan is our home.
Do you freeze or hot iron brand?
We've hot ironed.
Yeah.
We've talked about the freeze brand just because, I've read it's less stress, but the majority of our herd is black and white. And from what I've read or been told, the freeze branding doesn't show up quite as good. Now, that could be completely false. I don't know. Josh and Megan Shaw are always great, and we kind of make a day out of it and have branding parties and help some local members of the GLTLA, and we all get together and have a little branding party. So I always look forward to that day because it's a lot of fun. Everyone working together, and we get pizza and kind of make a thing out of it. But yeah, so we hot iron for now, but I would try freeze branding. I mean, that's still something I'd like to try.
If you had a Longhorn question and you only got one phone call, who would you call?
Ooh, probably Josh Shaw, just because our friendship has grown so much that I pretty much call him for anything now. Yeah. But Josh has always been good, and Johnny's great. I've called Michael Bennett before. That's tough because everybody's so willing. I can't believe how, you're at these futurities and there's a level of competition, but everybody's so willing to answer my questions, and I have a whole book of them, so they can be tied up for quite a while. But yeah, Josh, I guess would be my first answer.
Yeah,
I don't have an easy answer for anything, Molly.
Is yours Josh too, Janice?
Yeah, Josh, or honestly, Macie. I would think if I had a question about any animal issues or issues with any of the calves, I'd probably call Macie Hicks for sure.
Well, I feel like we covered a lot, but is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want our listeners to know about, or anything you want to share before we wrap up?
I think you covered it all well. I think, yeah. I mean, for new breeders and, people who might be thinking about it, you don't know till you do it, and there's a lot of advice and there's a lot of opinions, and none of them are wrong or right. Everybody, people in agriculture are opinionated, and I just love, when I listen to your podcast and I hear people say, we never had any ag background and this is how we got started. For me personally, I love that. The world is so disconnected, I feel, from agriculture and, simply dirt. To hear people getting into agriculture, and whether it's 40 acres or 2,000, just do it. Fall in love with, being outside and nature and knowing where your food comes from and feel the dirt in your hands. And, the one thing that connects us all is that. And if you buy, I don't care if it's a $2,000 Longhorn or your first one's, $200, you'll fall in love with it. And
Yeah.
you go to a fraternity and you'll fall in love with it. And everybody learns different, and it can be fast paced or slow, but just do it and get started and get a good vet. And we're fortunate in dairy country. We have a great vet, and that can save you. The difference between a live and dead cattle, and they can answer questions. And what's that slogan? Is that Nike? It says just do it.
Just do it.
Just do
Yep.
it. The Nike.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Just do it. I cannot think of a better way to raise our kids and with a better group of people. And maybe this won't be their passion. I don't know what they're gonna do, but
it will be. They don't have a choice.
But no, I agree. Just do it.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate it. And we will link your website in the show notes so everyone can go check it out.
Thank you, Molly. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
everything you guys have done too. I mean, for us and the industry, and we're all connected by you too. So
Yeah.
you're like the soil of the Longhorn industry.
Yeah.
I don't. Let's not go that far, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on From the Pasture with Hired Hand. We hope you enjoyed this visit up to Michigan, to JT Longhorns, and learned something new about the world of Longhorns. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can always explore more stories from the pasture by visiting our website or following us on social media. Until next time, remember to appreciate the pastures you roam and the traditions that make them special.